Hello, hello. Ron Callis here with another episode of Automation Unplugged. We are here for episode 125. Today is Wednesday. It is June 17th. It is just a little bit after 12:30. So we're coming to you here at our normal day and our normal time. And as I always do, let me go ahead and jump over to Facebook. Let's see if we're coming in loud and clear. And it does look like we're coming in live. So appreciate you joining us, or I appreciate you watching us on replay. And as always, please jump down into the chat or the comment section and let us know where you're coming to us from. And as I bring in our guest, if you have questions or comments or ideas, don't be shy. Don't be silent. Be heard. Type into the comments and let us know what you want us talking about or any questions you might have. So today's guest is a gentleman that I've known since the very beginning of my business. I started One Firefly back in 2007. And Kyle and I were just actually talking before we went live here. And he and I think maybe we met in 2008. It was pretty early on. And I was out flying around the country, and anybody that expressed even the remotest interest in Firefly's services, I was like, I'm jumping on a plane and I'm coming to you. So he and I were just having some fun. We'll actually talk about it here in a minute. But yeah, so today I've got Kyle Steele, president of Global Wave Integration. Kyle's growth as an entrepreneur and as an integrator is nothing short of impressive. And in fact, he's doing projects around the country these days. I'm in Fort Lauderdale. He's actually doing a project about 10 miles from here, up on Hillsborough Beach or Mile. And so he's doing really just some of the best work in the country. And honored to have him here for the show. So let me go ahead and bring him in and stand by as I see if technology is going to behave here. And all right, stand by. What's up, Mr. Kyle?
Hello, Mr. Callis. How you doing? Good to see you.
Yeah, man. Likewise. I appreciate your willingness to participate. I think I had been reaching out to you for the better part of a year to have you on, and you and I were talking recently. You're like, yeah, Ron, sure. I'm happy to come on anytime. I was like, well, what about the last 8 times I asked? I'm just kidding. It wasn't 8 times. It was maybe 6. So how are you doing, sir?
Doing good. Hanging in there. I mean, it's interesting times, and it's good to see your face. And yeah, I mean, just trying to ride out these times right now. So it's so far so good. And hopefully we're looking at the end of it here coming up.
Yeah, man. How, by the way, where are you coming to us from? Just for everyone watching and listening that may not know much about you or your business and where you're located, like geographically, where are you at on the map?
Yeah, it's like the Tonight Show, live from Burbank.
Live?
No joke.
Are you really in Burbank?
We just moved in. We bought a building about a year ago, and just slowly moving in with everything going on. We had a small little flood at the end of last year, so that kind of delayed the process, but we're actually very thankful because now we're doing the showroom right. It was already a wellness showroom before COVID. Now with COVID, there's more of a focus on wellness and what that looks like moving forward.
So you just bought a building. So how were you running your business before, and what led you to decide to, and I know I want to get into your story. You have a fascinating backstory for those listening, which includes Kyle almost getting signed by Babyface for a record deal. So we're going to get into that. But from a business standpoint, what led you to decide to actually buy a building and go down that path?
It was organized chaos, to be honest. We had, I mean, for the past decade, we had multiple storage units. We had an executive office that was right down the road here in Burbank on the 3rd floor. To build racks was, out of a storage unit. So the whole idea was to really consolidate, have one building, have the space for the guys to build the racks, warehouse stuff. We do a lot of DCI rooms, projectors. So, calibrate the barcodes before we ship them out.
DCI, that's like, for those that aren't familiar with the Hollywood circuit, like what does DCI mean?
So it's day and date. It's first run movies. So when a movie comes out in the theater, our clients can actually see it that night or day in their home cinema. That's been a lot of our
And
business.
it's just like a 99 cent a day subscription, right?
Yeah, pretty close. It's about that. And it's funny, with this new building, Deluxe, who does the licensing, is literally on the same block as us. So if we need to pick up a drive, we can just walk down the street, grab the content, and ship it anywhere in the world. So that's been good for us. So everything's just consolidated, one space, and that's just going to be a game changer for us.
Tell our audience just a little bit about your business. What does your business look like today? And then we'll go back to where the business began. Because I think it's always fun to go there, and I get a lot of feedback from our audience. They love to hear where these crazy guys and gals came from that make up our industry. But what is it? What does the business look like today?
Yeah, we specialize in high-end residential, truly on a commercial scale. These are really large estates, multiple estates that we tie in terms of estate management. But like this project in Florida, I think we have nearly 300 shades, 90 audio zones.
That's like a 70,000 square foot house.
Guest house, main house. So
guest house,
that's kind of our bread and butter, is these really large.
That's kind of biggish. That's on the larger side of big.
We like big. That's kind of what Global is about. We like big. We find that the bigger projects truly to be easier than smaller projects. When you're taking on a lot of $50,000 jobs, those can be scary. You have a couple things that you missed in the bid or one or two errors, and next thing you know, you're in the red. And what we've seen about those size of jobs, like 30% of those jobs are a loss. On bigger projects, you can really manage those. It's weekly construction calls, meetings on site. You can really catch things before it's a bigger issue, especially for these DCI rooms. I mean, the construction is critical. So we'll be checking in, making sure the acoustics are perfect, and they're executing per plan, and that's critical for what we do.
On a DCI room, the room to qualify for that day and date service, it has to meet some certain bar of performance. Is that how it is?
Absolutely. It has to be stamped by Dolby, and it's just every detail's taken into consideration. Literally today, we're wiring a room with 50 Meyer sound speakers. So these rooms are no joke, and it's quite the experience. So we like the challenge, we like the fun stuff, and that's really what we're about.
So I'm going to acknowledge some of our visitors here. We have Chris coming to us from the UK. Chris, I love his comment. He goes, the notification said One Firefly live with the president. I'm guessing that has to do with how it showed up in the news feed. We did try a new setting in our software. Normally we would let the software auto read the description, and the new format, which Kyle, you're the first guest to experience this, is that we actually put in a field for subject. So maybe Chris, maybe it didn't populate correctly. That might be the case. Although Kyle is the president of his company. And there's that. And then we have Wes. Wes says, welcome. And then I think this person, Sarah Steele.
Yeah.
The Fox, those were the days. I think she's referring to my babyface comment earlier, which we're going to get into. And then Jason, Jason Magic. He goes, what's up, Kyle?
Oh, Jason's awesome.
Yeah, man. So let's go back in time. And how did you land in this industry? And then when appropriate, please get to the babyface story, because that's just, that's crazy.
I'll try to fast forward to that. So I was born and raised in Portland, Oregon, and one of your guests last week, the Premier Group, I was floored because that was the first time I've heard another human being mention Greencastle, Indiana. All my relatives are in Greencastle. The only reason I wasn't born in Greencastle is my father was actually drafted by the Blazers and played for the Blazers for 9 years. got his number retired, recently lost his championship ring. So please, if anyone finds it,
like literally lost it, like was wearing it and it fell off and can't find it.
It's gone. So that's what landed us in Portland and not in Greencastle. But shout out to Premier Group. That's awesome, man. I want to come out and check out your showroom. So growing up in Portland is upper middle class, definitely white privilege. I didn't do drugs growing up. I was addicted to electronics, and my parents enabled me to play with electronics.
So your dad liked to buy the latest camcorders or TVs or stereo systems, that sort of. Being a pro NBA player, I'm assuming he had the means to do that.
Well, granted, keep in mind in the 70s, I think they got paid $4.25 per hour or per game. I got to look that up.
But, okay, so it wasn't the big crazy money of today.
No, but he liked 2-channel. He had amazing record collection that I'm still trying to find as well. But yeah, it enabled me to really just kind of play. Like I was the only one in the family that was obsessed with music. And my older brother and sister are like, what's wrong with this kid? So 3rd grade, my parents got me a drum set. And instead of taking lessons, I took some magnets and some copper wire and turned the bass drum into a loudspeaker. They're like, what is wrong with this guy?
That's pretty cool. That sounds like a fun science project.
Yeah, but as a 3rd grader, like something's wrong with this guy. So as a 6th grader, I was walking across the street to the junior high and taking 8th grade geometry class, and just really focused on biology and math. Come high school, all I wanted to do was play music. We had an awesome cover band. We won like Battle of the Bands in Portland, and that's when I knew I was over basketball, when I'd much rather be done with basketball and go to the dance afterwards and jam with friends instead of play basketball.
When did you start the band scene? That was in high school or college, or when did you like start performing?
It was freshman year. It was like 3 of my best friends, and we were terrible, just terrible. But instead of partying every weekend, there's a nice thing at my house. We had a nice little setup, and we just jam like just 3 days straight. And we got pretty good over time. One of the highlights was we did Battle of the Bands, and we were playing that Tommy Two-Tone song, that Ginny song. Yeah. And we didn't know he was a judge. So he was judging his own song, and we're playing downtown Portland on the waterfront. And he's like, you guys hands down win. I'm like, this is awesome. Tommy Two-Tone.
That's amazing.
That kind of like parlayed into college, where all I want to do was just play music. I think it's kind of your background too. Were you bioengineering? You're looking into
mechanical engineering.
I think we're complaining over OChem at one point, just awful class.
Yeah, no, OChem and thermodynamics both kicked my behind for sure.
Yeah, so I was in College of Engineering, Music, and Business because Arizona had a new program called the ELITE program. I'm not sure what it stands for, but they took the top 12 engineering students and they put them in this new program to have like a BA in engineering, like a well-rounded engineer. And we were the guinea pig. It was kind of a mess. So I just focused on music at the point, to the point where we even changed our band name to Free Beer. And I walk around campus handing out flyers like free beer tonight at Guido's.
No way. That's genius. That's marketing genius.
Oh, we had packed house every night, and it was just so much fun.
Were they disappointed when they found out they had to pay for the beer?
Well, we were smart, and I bought a couple of kegs in the back, and I'd give out some free beer, but we were also getting part of the sales for cocktails. So that was good.
By the way, you have Paul Ostrin. He just stopped in and said hello. What's up, Kyle?
Oh, what's up, Paul?
All right. Keep going.
Yeah. So, I had to make the same choice as my dad did when he was done with school. He's either going to be an accountant for the richest guy in Kentucky, or he's going to go pro basketball. My choice wasn't as dramatic. I was either going to be a quality assurance engineer for Raytheon or try to be a rock star. See, the only difference is my dad actually had a shot for the NBA. He was first team All-American for the #1 team in the country. I was a drunken drummer in Tucson, Arizona in a cover band. Like, that's not screaming rock star by any means. But my roommate, Jeff Bethke, who's the best guitarist I've ever met, when I met him, he was playing Stevie Ray Vaughan is a VCR tape of Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's playing note for note behind his head with his teeth. I'm like, I just want to hang out with this guy. And we were roommates. And then, he's going to go into electrical engineering. I was like, this is the one shot we have just to be irresponsible. Let's go back to Portland, Oregon. Let's just work retail and restaurants and play music and see what happens. The best thing out of it, we both met our wives doing that, so that was a big plus. We met this incredible lead singer, singer-songwriter based in Portland, and we just had a band together, and we were just mainly
Did you
doing
do the classic thing, like you made the post looking for lead singer, 2 musicians trying to do gigs? Or
actually, from what I remember, we had a friend, he went to University of Oregon, and we had mutual friends from Lake Oswego that kind of made the connection. And we started playing pubs and stuff in Portland, and people started coming out. And then I vividly remember the lead singer coming to our apartment where Jeff and I were living, and my girlfriend at the time, now wife, Sarah, she was there. It was so nonchalant. He's like, all right, well, I guess labels are interested in us, but if we're really going to do this, we need to like move to LA ASAP. And I remember just looking at Sarah being like, want to move to LA? It's like, sure. So we all like jumped in this like Jeff Buick, and drove to LA. And we found this 400 square foot tiny condo in Manhattan Beach. So it's the band and Sarah. And that was for a year.
I'm sure Sarah loved it.
I
living
mean,
with a bunch of dudes. That sounds miserable.
She is a trooper. And the funny part is that there's 2 bedrooms, and Jeff and Justin were going to have 1 bedroom, and Sarah and I were going to have the other. But it was so small that our lead singer actually preferred sleeping in the hallway, which was outside our door. So literally going to work, we'd step over him to go to work. I mean, it was not optimal by any means, that living condition.
That's hilarious. So this weekend, I just watched there's a new Netflix documentary on Garth Brooks. And, I listen to all genres, but I like some country music. And that was Garth Brooks's deal. He and his whole band and his wife, I want to say it was like a 400, 500, 600 square foot house in Nashville. There was 7 adults living in that house, and two couples, married couples, in this tiny little house. But I guess you do it for the love of music. Is that the theme?
It was crazy. I mean, we were just shooting from the hip. Then after that year, we actually moved into another house that was close to the beach and we had 6 roommates. And during that year, it's like, all right, I need a job in LA. Playing drums wasn't paying the bills. We're going on kind of small little tours. There's this job post. It sounded like audio engineering. Like, I always wanted to have my own recording studio. And so this sounded like, oh yeah, this is right up what I'm looking for. Respond to the ad. And my first day on the job, I'm pulling Cat 5 underneath the house on the beach in Manhattan Beach. I'm getting stuck under the house. There's just
seeing all sorts of creepy crawlies under there.
Yeah, I'm like, this is not audio engineering. I don't know what I'm getting myself into. So I was the first employee for this integrator who just started the company, and he was very candid and honest with me, saying, hey, I know nothing about this industry. I have an MBA from Stanford, but I realize if we can just get a little niche market in this luxury side in the South Bay and Manhattan Beach, like in 10 years, this should be a real viable company. I was sold. So we're still playing music. That was my day job, just installing. We grew the company pretty quick. We built 2 showrooms, got vans, staffing up.
And what was the name of that business?
A Sharper Home. Jeff Cohen,
Sharper
who's
Home.
Very intelligent guy. He just business sense was incredible. So I gained a lot from him. And then during that time, we're still playing shows where we had this cancer benefit walk. I think it was a 2-day walk, but it's all day, all night. And we were slotted to play pretty much the headliner, 10 o'clock at night in Bel Air at UCLA.
So you were the big band. You were all the lead-in acts were leading up to you guys going on stage.
Yeah, we're stoked. I mean, they weren't even signed yet, but we had like Sarah Bareilles playing right before us, and everyone was incredible. So we're getting set up to play, and they shut us down because it's Bel Air, where they have a noise ordinance at 10 p.m. So basically start packing up, and they come up to us saying, hey, you can come back 7 in the morning and play.
Would there be anybody in the audience at 7 in the morning?
Yeah, I mean, they're walking the track like all night, so people will be there, and we're like, maybe we're not into this. So we pack up, we go back to Manhattan Beach. We're kind of up all night, just hanging out, talking, having some beers. Check our watch. Next thing we know, it's like, if we go back up there, I mean, we can make our 7 a.m. set. So we just kind of jump in the car, go back, set back up. And I noticed this guy running the stairs. I mean, he looks familiar, but he's far away. We played 2 songs, and after the second song, he comes up and he sits next to the sound engineer. I'm like, oh, that's Babyface. No way. So we play our entire set, and he comes up right away. He's like, man, I love this sound. Like, you guys are awesome. Like, come to my house on Tuesday. Like, I want to sign a production deal with you guys. Like, 6 songs, 6 months. We'll get you signed to a major. I'm like, this is like the LA moment. Like, does it really happen like
this? They make movies about stories like that. That sounds amazing.
We're so excited. And we go back to our 400 square foot condo, and, you know, we're just really excited about it. And I'm still doing installs, and I'm about to tell my boss that, hey, you know, I'm about to quit. I need to go record for 6 months. I'm about to be famous.
I got to get out of here. I got to go do the music thing.
Yeah, head in the clouds. And our lead singer went back to Portland for 2 weeks. I pick him up from the airport, and the first thing he says is like, hey, man, can I come work for you guys? I'm like, we're about to quit our job. We got to focus on the music. And he's like, well, we had a little dispute with Babyface. Like, his lawyer countered-offered Babyface because it was a battle on who owned the masters. And so Babyface essentially said, good luck. So from that point on, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I remember
the music career was over because of that thing.
Yeah, it's like one of those kind of. I mean, it's one of those things. If there's problems before there's money, there's definitely going to be problems later on. I just saw, you know, this probably wasn't for me. And, you know, leaving Portland, it was one of the first times I met Sarah's parents as we're like packing up the car. And they weren't too stoked on about me and moving to LA. But the one thing I did promise, you know, Sarah's parents is that, you know, I promise I'll take care of Sarah no matter what. And I had to stick to that. And it's like, what am I going to do? At that same time, we had a neighbor across the street, really sweet lady. She's about 75 years old, and she had her house pre-wired. And she was telling me she hired this company from the Valley that was going to come down and do this install. She knew I was in the business, so she wanted me to come vet this like alarm company. So I was working for my first boss. I did this walkthrough with the alarm contractor, and I was floored. This guy knew everything about low voltage. I mean, it was too insane. He was like the mad scientist. He was explaining the physics of the twisted pair and the data transmission to like a 75-year-old woman. And it was like a 4-hour walkthrough, and it wasn't the biggest house. And she looked at me and was like, well, what do you think of this company? I looked at him like, are you hiring? Like, I want to come work for you and just learn. And we're still close friends. And I basically helped launch his like Crestron division for his company. And we had this mutual understanding that eventually, you know, Global Wave would be its own company. And we're still like sister companies.
What was the name of that company?
Security Alarm Specialist.
Security Alarm Specialist. And by the way, Sarah just made a comment here that I'm going to share. She goes, Fallout Boy got signed instead. So I miss Babyface when you guys didn't do a deal, he signed Fallout Boy.
Who truly knows? The rumor has it Babyface was like, well, I'm done with you guys. He helped launch Fallout Boy, like in the background or something. So,
and what was the name of your band at that time?
Justin Hopkins. We're playing for the singer-songwriter. Justin's super talented. I mean, check him out. He's
still doing music.
Yes, he's still in the South Bay, and he's incredible. And you know, I hope it breaks through. And he does a lot of still kind of touring, and he's been on the shows. He was on The Voice, American Idol. Super talented.
All right. Well, hopefully the dozens of people that are going to watch this interview can help make the difference for Justin Hopkins. help him become more discovered. But so after the security company, you joined them, but with an understanding that they would be the security division and you would be the automation division. Was that the nature of the relationship?
Yeah, it was just kind of full disclosure. Because after that walkthrough, we basically moved from, you know, the South Bay up to the Valley, and I was his employee. I was like, just let me help you launch your company. I mean, sometimes we're, as business owners out there, I'm sure you guys can relate, we can be our worst enemy. Sometimes we're in the way. Sometimes we need to get out of the way and let the company grow. So I was like, please just let me help you. And the clientele he had was just who's who of Hollywood. And he was just doing alarms for the most part. And so I was like, just let me be the crush-on arm of your company. And, if I bring in work, just some commission would be appreciated. And I remember one year for his birthday, he just let me run with it, which I'm so grateful for. And it was his birthday, and I showed up for his birthday, and I gave him $300,000 in checks for his company. And he's like, wow, what is this? I'm like, I've been working for you. And he's like, this is incredible. I'm like, by the way, I needed a new work truck. Can we make it?
So you had gone and closed some jobs?
I was doing big restaurant systems, like single-handedly, and just did it for him. And I love him like a father. And
do you mean to tell you when my birthday is? I will let you know when that is. It's March 28th. Just mark that in your calendar. You can show up with presents like that anytime.
No, he's been a huge just asset for us, and just helped me grow as a person. And working for him opened up a lot of things for me personally. I mean, I was picking up his mail in boxes from a UPS store up in Calabasas, and the owner of that UPS store would always question, like, so how come you haven't started your own thing? Or why are you working with Scott? I'm like, oh, we have an understanding. He's like, well, why don't you just start your own company now? I think that's everyone's kind of fear, going out on your own and not having that paycheck and that peace of mind. It can be a scary thing. So this owner of the UPS store, he's like, come back here. I'm going to make you feel stupid. I sat in the back of this UPS store for 2 hours, and I felt stupid. But I felt.
What did he do in that meeting? What was he telling you? What was he explaining to you?
He tore me apart. He's like, you can't run a company if you don't understand people and personality types and all this stuff, like business 101. It's knowledge you don't gain unless you have that experience. It's stuff you don't learn in school. And he blew me away. I was like, I feel stupid, but I need to talk to this guy. And 2 weeks later, I go back to that UPS store, and Marty Stark, he's gone. I guess he sold the business. And not only did he sell the business, but he started like a class action lawsuit against UPS because they took advantage of like the mom and pop stores. Like he's a lawyer background, but he's trying to do good with his knowledge.
Right.
And he taught me, like, you can be successful and you can do it with integrity. And just all these nuggets he'd give me over the years. And he truly is like a father figure.
So you've stayed in touch with him, with Marty?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, our other company, Future Care Solutions Group, kind of spawned out of the conversations we had, me taking him to get his chemo treatments. And, he's in his 70s and he doesn't have kids. And it really feels like a, father-son relationship. Like, I love my dad, but, Marty Stark has... We've estimated I've grown at least 10 years in terms of business just with his guidance. He never tells me what to do, but just to have that soundboard where you can bounce that ball off the wall and see how it comes back, it's invaluable. Like, big believer, everyone should have a mentor of some capacity, if not just business.
I think your story, even that it wasn't, you didn't find a mentor through maybe the classical path of going and, quote, hiring a business coach. You ran across this person that had sage wisdom from their years and they were willing to share it. So it's just acknowledging that that's a good thing to have and then seeking it out.
It's just genuine. It truly feels, impactful in terms of, a true entrepreneur, they want to pass that on. You want to take what you learn and give that to somebody. And even the small things I've learned, like to my friends, like, well, have you thought about this or try looking into this? Like, really outside the box.
Now you're that old man.
You see the gray hair. I mean, it's coming in.
I don't know. I think my gray's coming in a little stronger than yours is.
Nice. But yeah, I couldn't be more grateful. I mean, the growth we've had and the team we have and the people that have my back, truly, I just couldn't be more grateful. Like, I'm seeing even the comments, like, Alex from Josh AI. I mean, I couldn't be more grateful to be associated with those guys.
Yeah, Alex. Hey, what's up, Alex? Thanks for watching, buddy. I appreciate it. Big fan of yours. You know that.
Big fan.
So what have the last 12 years? So you started this global 10, 12 years. I'll blend that to the present. What have been some of the big milestones that have, obviously you made it through the Great Recession.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, only to have a greater recession right now. What are some of the big milestones that you stick out to you over the last 10 years or so?
I think we were joking about that for me to get my contractor's license and officially incorporate in 2008, which is probably the worst year in American history to start a business.
You and I both had perfect timing.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought that was just the way business went. So in a way, it's kind of gotten easier. But the biggest thing is just slowly growing out our team, like this controlled growth and really just taking care of clients. The biggest thing is obviously this building. We've been trying to buy this building for about 3 or 4 years. And now for it to finally come together, have everything centralized, build out this wellness showroom. That's probably the biggest milestone.
You had mentioned that it was a showroom, and now obviously in light of COVID, it was always going to be a wellness showroom, but that's really taken on a new meaning.
Yes.
As to what health and wellness mean. How are you seeing your customer base or your design trade respond to this conversation now, maybe versus before?
Yeah, I mean, this is something all of us as integrators really need to address head on. I was already planning for this to be a showroom. I'm personally getting well certified. The building's getting well certified. If you think of the milestones.
How do you become well certified? I'm not familiar with that.
So it's the same organization as a LEED. So a lot of people might remember LEED, and that didn't really get traction just because it's so expensive, and green buildings kind of tough to kind of feel it, touch it. Now with wellness, this is really going to be taking off. And I saw that wellness would be a big niche even before COVID. But another good example, yesterday at a meeting I would have not had if it wasn't for COVID. Super interesting, where a comedy club reached out to us. Once they reopen, they realize they can't have as many people in terms of capacity. And when it comes to comedy clubs, like, they try to put you right next to the person next to you because, lack of a better term, laughter is contagious. Like, if someone's sitting right next to you laughing, you're more likely to enjoy it and laugh as well. So how do they address this? So they reached out to us, a consultant. I was like, well, Meyer Sound has an awesome solution in the Constellation system where you can manipulate clapping and laughing. And in fact, some of the late night talk shows have Constellation systems. So like if Jimmy Fallon's, making a joke, it sounds louder on stage than what's actually happening in the audience. So we went to a restaurant that had this Constellation system, and the comedy club's like, yes, we need this in all our locations.
Because the comedian on stage is feeding off that energy from the crowd.
Yeah, they realize if they don't have a solution like this, then everything falls flat, and it's going to be a bad experience for the comedian, for the audience. And there's solutions like this. I mean, that's something I never thought we'd be doing. I mean, I've always wanted to do a Constellation system, and I'm a big fan of Meyer Sound. But because of COVID, there's opportunities like that. And it's kind of like a win-win for everybody. It's not like you want to be tone deaf going out selling stuff just related to COVID, but we're just seeing, as our company, we're getting new opportunities that we wouldn't have had even a couple of months ago. In
your design center, I know you're doing tunable lighting. Is that correct?
Yes. So
and what are you using? How are you thinking you're going to show that or demo that or talk about it?
Yeah, the favorite thing we have so far is that we have Ketra throughout. Huge fan of Ketra. I was kind of blown away once we put Josh AI in to overlay with Ketra. I mean, you can call out the color temperature. I mean, I just unplugged my Josh, but to set it at 5,500 Kelvin and just goes to it with multiple commands, and then actually use the micro as the color wheel is key. So we've already done a few installs with clients and with Ketra and Josh AI. That's something we're really trying to push with our showroom because that's kind of new. In fact, the guy we just hired from New York, because he hasn't been able to work in New York, he's never heard of Josh AI or Ketra. So he's playing with our stuff in the showroom. He's like, this is the coolest thing he's ever seen.
That's amazing. So you mentioned you hired a guy from New York. Obviously, New York has been beaten up pretty bad due to COVID. It's just, it's hard. It's super hard for everyone in the Northeast, certainly business owners, small business owners, and that means integrators. At least in many parts of the rest of the country, integrators could still do work. You've been able to do work. So what has been the experience of your business? Because as I interview people, everyone's having different experiences. What have the last 90 days looked like for you in Southern Cal?
Chaos.
Because you've also had, there's another topic I want to get into. There've been the protests, and that's adding another. There's an amazing cause and a rebirth of the civil rights that's happening, but layer on top of that, there have been protests on a few isolated cases. There have been riots. It's just a fact. And that's added challenges for small business, anyone that's doing business or trying to do business in that marketplace. But just what has it been like? And have you been able to grow your business? Are you making sales? Are you able to do installs?
Yes. So in LA, we're essential business. Obviously that was huge for us. I mean, I can't imagine. I have friends on the East Coast, like talking to Ed Gilmore in New York. I mean, not only are they shut down, but he was battling with COVID himself. And it's just, New York was just, I mean, it's devastating. Here in LA, we can work. Our clients didn't change their deadlines. It's just like, we still have to be done. We had one little scare where we thought we might have to shut down. We were able to get tested and results back the same day. And then the client heard, was like, well, hurry up. You got to be done by the end of the week. So just scheduling and just that dynamic has been tough. And we were traveling during that time. We had deadlines across the country. So to have the conversation with the guys.
Sounds very stressful, Kyle.
Hey, I mean, gray hair,
I don't see it, but I believe it's coming in. I'll take your word for it.
Well, I still like a lot of our guys' girlfriends and wives. I owe them a nice dinner just because, to go to the guys and be like, we need to go to, another state and finish this job because this is the client that's actually paying our bills. And we can't like just pass this off to another integrator. Like we got to see it through. That's not a fun conversation to have, and as a business owner to be put in a position where they're making us finish. And I'm looking out for the well-being of our guys. And
a blessing and a curse all at the same time.
Yeah, and we're all very candid and open conversations. Like, listen, it's your comfort level. I'm never gonna ask you to do something that you're not comfortable doing. If you don't want to get on a plane, totally understand. That's just one of the things about our guys. Like, I love our team. I mean, we're like a family, and I mean, it's just we always say whatever it takes. And I think that's why we've been successful the past few years because we're all in the same understanding that we know who pays the bills. Global Wave's not owned by a billionaire who can just ride this out. This is like strictly taking care of our clients and customer service, and that's first and foremost. So it's been a struggle with what's going on. And then the riots hit, and we have deadlines in Beverly Hills to finish, and then we're getting kicked out of the house at 1 p.m. because it's curfew. So we're battling curfew, COVID, deadlines.
I had no idea. Here in Broward County in Florida, they did a curfew for about a week, and but I want to say it was instituted at around 9:00 p.m. I had not heard of curfews in midday or 1 o'clock.
Yeah. So that it's just a new dynamic. Like every day, like everything was so fluid. It's like, how do we even make a schedule? But we were getting new leads and new jobs, and we're grateful for that. We've been busy this whole time, and we actually hired up.
That's amazing. There was, there's something that's happened in our society. And I would say for the longest time, I'll speak for myself. It's not something I would talk about and with no good reason or excuse, but I think I feel compelled to talk about it now with everyone that I'm engaging with through this format. And that is around the Black Lives Matter movement. And, there's questions. I'm a white male. Fair to say, I've not by my own fault, but grown up with white privilege. And Alex, he's watching. He wrote a really fantastic article a week or two ago around his observations joining our industry. Alex joined, I think, in 2015. And he said he went to CEDIA and he noticed it was all white middle-aged males. And that is our industry, if we want to do that in air quotes. And, I think the question, and so I'll let you take it wherever you want to take it. But I think it is a fact. It's not opinion that our industry is mostly non-minorities. It's mostly male. So you can see it's mostly non-female. And what do you think our role, your role, the industry's role is to try to change that?
Yeah, great question.
I didn't say it would be an easy one, and there's no right or wrong answers. I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable spot, but I know everyone's looking for guidance around this.
I think everyone should be having this conversation. And if Alex is still listening, that was a beautiful article, and I applaud you for writing that. Initially, it kind of is in two phases in terms of the protest and like what was happening. So yes, I agree. I'm also white privileged. And initially, it's like I just wanted to listen. I wanted to just hear what's happening out there, understand everybody. I mean, there's just outrage, and I wanted to hear it from all sides. And then when it got into week 2, at least in LA, like it kind of turned from protest to something more sinister. Like that second Monday, it was really unnerving to me because I have my guys like sending me videos of like people stacking bricks. Our suburb, we had National Guard, but there's no looting. And it's like, it's coming to the suburbs. You're hearing all this misinformation online. We had fake police scanners in our neighborhood saying people are going around house to house with machetes. You're just like, what is happening? It's just like outrage. Like every group was just outraged. And, I like to be educated before I say anything. I mean, I'm extremely open-minded. I know I'm white privileged. And then I addressed it on our weekly kind of company call to the guys. It's like that Monday, it just seemed like everyone was angry. Didn't matter who you were. It just, you felt it was palpable. Like just going online, watching the news, everyone's angry. And the only thing I could think of, like, I just wanted to turn it off that night because I'm still in the camp that I want to listen. Before I open my mouth and make a stance on something, I mean, I know I'm on the right side of history, but when do you say something? Like everyone can have their opinions, their views on things, but then it comes down at some point, what's right and wrong? Like, where are you going to fall in terms of history? And at least with my team, my guys, I had to say something. And that Monday, I was just, it just got to me with the news and everything. So, I just kind of want to turn off my own head. So I was watching the Beastie Boys new documentary that Monday night just to tune out. And I grew up a big Beastie Boys fan. And there's a line at the end that MCA, rest in peace, but he's being interviewed by a woman basically saying he's a hypocrite because Beastie Boys back in the day, they were sexualizing women. Their videos, like, you got to fight for your right to party, and they're slapping girls' butts and stuff like that. And then for his latest raps, it's all about, love for women, rapping about his mom and his sister. And the person interviewing him was like, you're a hypocrite. Here you are, like, sexualizing women, but then you turn around and rap about, equality in women. And I think he said it best. He just goes, I'd rather be a hypocrite than the same person.
Wow.
And to be watching Beastie Boys that night, but that just resonated with me. I think all of us as human beings can recognize, hey, we don't want to be the same person. And I let my guys know that, not really taking a stance, but if I hear you make that same joke, I don't want to hear it. And start there. I'd rather you guys be hypocrites instead of that pride of like, this is how we do things, or what we used to say about women or other, races. It's just not cool anymore. And at least personally in our company, it's just, I won't tolerate it. They can go work somewhere else. Nothing lost on my front, but that's kind of the benefit of having my own company. I'm just not.
We get to decide what message we put out there, internal and external.
Having someone new from New York and hearing their views, I don't know. I just feel more empowered, at least like, it's kind of like what Jay-Z says, like, if they're not bumping it locally, they're not going to bump it nationally. It's like, let's work on local. Let's work on us first. Yeah. I've had clients.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
No, I was going to add, I was in a conversation with a friend of mine that runs another marketing agency in the Northeast. And he made a comment. He's white. He has an all white staff. He comes from a mostly all white state, if you could say such a thing. And he said he felt the longest time that he didn't have a position or a right to make comments on Black Lives Matter because he didn't know what to say. And I just informed him. I said, the fact that you and I are having this conversation right now is part of the change.
Mm-hmm.
because a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, this would not have been the conversation we were having right now.
Right.
And I think that's where it comes from, is not being afraid to have the conversation and to look introspectively at your own beliefs. And he even made the comment, I won't mention his name, but he made the comment that he had been one of those all lives matter people. Mm-hmm. So people that say Black Lives Matter, he say, well, all lives matter. He says at the time he did not realize that that's perceived as almost a racist or a white supremacy stance, and he made the comment that, when Vegas had that terrible murder, that mass shooting years ago, not too long ago, unfortunately. And he said the whole country went out supporting Vegas strong. You didn't hear people go, well, what about my city? All cities strong. No, it was Vegas strong because Vegas needed support. Mm-hmm. And when Paris had those murders from terrorism, it was Paris strong. Well, you didn't hear London go, well, what about us? London strong. No, Paris needed support. Mm-hmm. And so Black people and people of color in our society, they need support. And I think it was really interesting for me to have that conversation with him and help me see his perspective. And I think us not being afraid to have the conversation is part of the solution. It's not the solution, but I think we're on a pathway that if we all agree and unite, we can find a solution.
Absolutely.
So, Kyle, I'm looking at the time, but I do have one more kind of direction I want to go with this. And I appreciate our audience for sticking around. And if you guys have questions for Kyle and you'd be so kind, post them and I'll see if we can get him to answer here live or even in the comments afterwards. You have a philosophy around teams, and you have a philosophy around how you man your projects. And you even believe that may be why you got some of your work right when you launched your business, because your customers even identified this philosophy of yours. Do you mind kind of sharing what that is?
It's definitely unique. Even our new hire from New York, he's like, I've never even heard of a structure like this. And I heard it about 12 years ago, and maybe it's not true, or I'm not sure, but I was told within Sony, a very large corporation, they had a team of 4 guys that were called the Tiger Integration Squad. These guys would go all over the world, like work on AV on an arena, for example, finish the job, come back, come home, get the new assignment, fly back out. We've done projects all over the world.
Almost like special forces.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Navy SEAL kind of mindset, and everyone has their specialty and their personality type. So I've kind of built out our company with teams of 4. I mean, we have a team of 4 right now traveling. We're going to have another team of 4 traveling next week. And understanding the personality type and how you team people together is absolutely crucial. And even our first big job, I think, big time Hollywood director interviewed 6 companies, and it was a coup to land this account. And I straight up asked the team, the client's team, like, why us? Like, we shouldn't be doing this project. And they're like, well, you're talking about things the other companies didn't talk about. You're talking like future technologies. That's not bleeding edge, but cutting edge, which the client wants. And we love your structure. This is what this caliber of client wants. It's that immediate service, attention, get a hold of somebody, response time. That's key for the clients we have. I mean, we're dealing with the 1% and the 1%. And it's really about showing up. They know they can call us 24/7. And we have a structure and teams built to handle this, which is very different than what I see across the board for other integration companies out there. But you need to understand the personality types first before you try to build out teams like that.
What are how do you classify skill sets? So let's maybe just start there. So when you're saying different projects will need different skills, like how do you divide that or define it?
It's mostly personality driven, where we all wear multiple hats. We're cross-trained. I mean, if it's like a Crestron system or Savant system, obviously we have certain guys who have those specialties. But really it's how these guys gel, like, about that project in Florida and who we sent out there and why we sent them out there, because they can function better as a team. If you have 2 drivers on a team, a strong personality type, and 2 people try to fit in that driver box, they're just going to butt heads.
All right. So you're using a term that is a personality definition type. So what are these types that you use as you're formulating your teams?
Yes, we break them up into 4 categories, and there's many different, I guess, names for it that's out there. We just kind of made our own, but an amiable is one, expressive, an analytical, and a driver. And usually we have 2, like a secondary as well. So you kind of know how to navigate. For example, our latest hire, I think he's a great analytical engineering mind. So if we're both trying to be drivers or kind of, push that needle forward, we're going to butt heads. But, if I can work with him, like, this is what we need done, and he goes into his analytical mode, like, we can execute, and it's great. So it's that balance of having, how to work with each other. But it also goes well for sales. I mean, every time you try to close a sale, you need to pin somebody in that personality type. It's crucial.
Well, so let's say that you define them and you put them into one, let's say the customer, into one of the 4 buckets.
Yes.
What do you do with that information?
Oh, we'll talk about it as a team. A lot of our clients in LA, most of them are, drivers, analytical, like CEO of tech companies. Like they have strong personality types. And sometimes if a system's not working, they just need to vent. Don't even try to correct it. Just pick up the phone, let them vent for a couple minutes, then try to resolve the issue. But if you try to talk back right away to them, and if something's not working, they're not going to be happy. They're immediately going to feel like you're talking down to them, or, they're not smart enough. Like, you have to understand how to deal with people. And that comes to service, troubleshooting, or closing a deal. Like an amiable, they just want to be, liked. That's the biggest thing. If you're trying to close a deal, it's really about, just making them feel they're getting attention. And that's all they really want, that someone's going to show up, really walk them through the bid. And some of these other personality types, you can email the bid, but certain personality types, you need to show up and really give them the attention in order to close that deal.
Are there books of certain writers or philosophers around this, or psychologists around this topic that you follow or study? Like, this sounds like the topic of like emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And, I'm familiar with like Myers-Briggs and DISC profiles, and there's a plethora of other personality profiling, I think, philosophies out there. Is this your own invented thing, or is there something that anyone listening could go read up on?
Well, my mentor gets the credit for sure, but we put together something that kind of simplifies it, just a short doc, and I'm happy to share that with anybody and kind of review it, because in that 2-hour meeting where he sat me down and made me feel dumb, this was the very first thing he said I need to understand. And it's over the years, it's proved itself.
Wow. Well, if you, I'll let you think that over, but if you want to share that, we'll put that in the show notes and allow people to download it. We'll put a link maybe here on the Facebook chat. Maybe we'll put it up on Dropbox or something, and then on the show page, we'll make it available for download. And all credit to you, Kyle, for your willingness to share that. I'm sure there will be people that go, yes, I want to read that. I know I want to read it. So that sounds awesome.
Happy to help.
Kyle, believe it or not, we've been here an hour. We did it. It was an hour. Can you believe that? I had told you 30 to 45 minutes. You're like, but last week, Ron, it was an hour. I'm like, well, sometimes when it's a good interview, or I'm feeling maybe better as an interviewer, and my guests are flowing, we'll go an hour. So
yeah, well, let's just keep it going.
Let's keep it going. Well, I'm not going to do that to you. And I also have meetings. How can the folks that are watching or listening that want to follow you or follow your company, what are your recommendations? And I know you did actually just have a website hack issue, so we can't send them to a website. What would you recommend?
Well, as you know, we're working on it with you guys, but just finally getting our social media up. We're getting out of the foxhole. So like Instagram, it's just Global Wave Integration. The website's Global Wave Integration. That's getting modified.
I did have I'm sharing your Instagram. I had that one ready to go. So there's your You're getting up and around. I'm proud of you. You got 12 posts on Instagram. You're getting it done, Kyle.
Hey, between Jason, and Sarah, we'll get it going.
That is funny. You know what? Your video just went away. Did we lose Kyle? What just happened, ladies and gentlemen? I was going to sign off.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
But I hear you. Oh my goodness. Well, it's good we're at the end of the show. And I am going to put this on the screen. Alex says, this was awesome. Thanks both of you for taking the time, hopping into another meeting now myself, but enjoyed this. You guys rock. Alex, I appreciate that. And I have no idea what happened here, Kyle, but I'm glad it's at the end. But your video went away. I can hear you in my ears, but our audience cannot. So I'm going to just thank you publicly for coming on the show. It was definitely a pleasure. And we'll put contact information down in the show notes for those of you that do want to follow Global Wave or follow or get in touch with Kyle directly. And it was certainly an honor to have him on the show. And if you have not already done so, definitely want you guys to go out and subscribe to our podcast. Again, if you're here with me now, that means you're watching the live video, you're watching the live show. And we also would love you, if you're interested in the future, to listen to the shows. So we're going to have a nice growing library. I think I want to say maybe, and Stephanie is here chatting for One Firefly. So Stephanie maybe can tell us how many shows are available for audio download only. So if you're out there on a job site, out there on the go to and from a job site, you can listen to our shows. And of course, whenever you feel so compelled, you can always watch them here on Facebook or on our website. And on that note, I'm happy you guys joined us. This was a lot of fun interviewing Kyle, and we grew a great live audience here. Appreciate you guys as always. And stay tuned for another show next week. And we'll be in touch. On that note, have a great rest of your week and be well. Take care.